Greetings, mortals. I am Natus, the ruler of the underworld, and today we will be continuing our Beast Pirates Hell discussion series with Who's Who. So, yeah, Who's Who is, alright, I want to say he's kind of a mess of a character amongst the Beast Pirates, yeah, all of the Beast Pirates have some questionability on their writing, but Who's Who is the one where I really don't know if he was affected by either rushing the story, Oda just didn't care about it, or Oda was having plans but they didn't end up turning the way how he planned at the end, or when it came to execution. It's just very weird and questionable, is the best way to put it. So yeah, anyway, so let's get into the discussion by first going over Who's Who's backstory. Who's Who's backstory is, well, a very interesting kind of connection, kind of a world building, affects the world building a bit connection, because we find out Who's Who was originally one of CP agents, I believe CP9. I think generation before I think the generation before the ones that the Strides went up against, because I think Rob Lucci was still a child during that time. If I remember my ages correctly, I think he's one of those age. You gotta remember the timeline age stuff because the most characters who actually affect stuff. So yeah, he was a CP agent during that time, and he may or may not have been the elite of the amongst them because of the fact he was compared to the rising upstart being Rob Lucci, which is kind of supposed to hype him up a bit to be compared to Rob Lucci kind of deal. But we'll get on his CP9 ranks later a bit. So yeah, he was there, and one of the missions that you would imagine he would receive would be a very important mission, that is transporting Luffy's Devil Fruit, which connects kind of the world building and kind of explains us how Shanks got the Devil Fruit kind of deal, since, Luffy's Devil Fruit is going to get really important then in the current story. So Who's Who was the one that was transporting it. But unfortunately, the red hair pirates, or the overrated pirates as they are more well known in my circles, of course, or to me at least, showed up, and yeah, we're talking about rising upstarts, and not too long from this point are gonna get the young Costatas go up against one CP ship where it seems like he was the only one actually worth shit, with a bunch of fodder. You can imagine how he went, and he lost the Dark Fruit, and after this colossal failure, he was, well, taken from his position and put in to be enslaved in the world government. I imagine that he also was enslaved and put in there because of some other aspects that we will get into, but needless to say, he was imprisoned. Then I think, and during the time where he was imprisoned and living among slaves, he heard a bunch of the story about Nika. He was kind of the first one that introduced us to the whole concept of Nika and how everything's gonna go into, which again kind of shows a bit of weirdness about his character. And then I think after Fisher Tiger broke him out, I think that's when it happened, or maybe he just broke out on his own. Since again, he's a CP9 age, or he was a former CP9 age, and I imagine, remember, most of the slaves in Marijua are not really top tier combatants. Since most of them are really, very weak in some levels. It says, I think, when the strongest forces are in that I believe we know that were imprisoned in there are Kuma, who was at that point just a robot, but Boa's sisters that were all children basically, and they were also fat devil fruits. And I think there's another really part. I think there was one Ginny. We'll get more into her later, but okay, the original army doesn't really seem to be much of a bunch of powerhouses. If you get what I mean, they are probably stronger than most average people, but when it comes down to it, the Revolutionary Commanders are not really elites, if you get my drift. So, yeah, they're not exactly the strong, like, I don't want to disrespect the Boa sisters, but not exactly that much of secure, well, that many challenges. I won't be surprised if he escaped on his own. And during that time, it seems to be implied that he was said that he got his own pirate crew, which is kind of a little too close for conflict ideals, but who knows, maybe who's a bit more of a recent addition that we all assumed that he was. Like, who knows, maybe like, I mean, granted, to be fair, two of the Tobi Roppos were a part of Kai's crew when they were children, so age is kind of over the place when it comes down to it, but regardless, who's who got his own pirate crew, went to the New World at some point, maybe even went straight to the New World after escaping Marijua, and in some way he became a member of the Beast Pirates and worked on the Kaido. And during that time, he also kind of got a reputation about being a troublemaker. He and Sasaki are troublemakers amongst Tobi Roppo because they kind of wanted the position of an all-star a lot more than others. In fact, I would go as far as to say it's because those two were the only two who actually wanted the position, who were actually, going after it, while the other Tobi Roppo were, they'll be fine when it's cool if I get it, but I really don't give a shit. So yeah, that's the backstory on Who's Who. Now into the story. Who's Who, similar to most Tobi Roppo, is introduced when the festival starts, and again, it feels like the style of Who's Who makes him seem like he's very much the strongest Tobi Roppo, the utmost, the closest to an all-star. If there was a replacement of all-stars Tobi Roppo, it would be him. That's the way how Oda kind of writes him, with him being kind of like, sitting chill and being like, if Queen passed away, who'd replace him, kind of deal. And yeah, I mean, he doesn't, kind of start that conflicts with the conversation. He just kind of brings up this question. The others kind of start conflicts, which again makes me think he's supposed to be taken a bit higher. And then we get that meeting with him and Kaido and all that, where again kind of emphasizes the part where he wants to be replaced. That in fact, when Kaido even says, "Oh, the one who captures Yama, are you King and Jack okay with the position of capturing Yamato equals a fight between one Tobi Roppo versus All Star, so they can take over the seat?" We see like. Who's who can kind of a sense to going, yes, my chance is at hand, which kind of raises the question on when Kaido decides that Tobi Roppo and All Stars should be competing with each other to see who gets the position, because this implies that you can't just be. It implies that Sasaki and Who's Who can just come to one of the All Stars once a day and be like, I challenge you to a fight. So, yeah. But regardless, after that, he goes. After that, he kind of walks around to get Yamato, and he's at the main stage, or with when everything's going down, where Luffy reveals the shots that he's there and all that. And he kind of, and his reaction, and one of his members, because he's one of the members who actually Sasaki and Black Widow actually have their own little clique of pirates, that maybe from their pirate crews, maybe not. It's kind of vague. I think they're supposed to be taken as that. They are there and questions Who's Who, if he's gonna, join in the capturing Luffy and all that type of stuff. But Who's Who, having that, I guess, arrogance in him, doesn't think it's worth his time because he has someone else to take care of. Which during the chapters being released, we thought, oh, he wants to take care of Queen to get the position, since that's what he says. That's kind of his first dialogue. That's what he's kind of being hinted at. But in truth, it was actually to remove Axe Drake, because he figured out that Axe Drake was a spy. And the anime, they even have like this kind of keep this kind of ruse going by having Who's Who and Axe Drake kind of like teaming up to go up against Queen. only for Who's Who to then reveal, oh, I knew you were a sword spy, you bastard. I just wanted to be here so we could, double jump you. Kind of situation going on. And yeah, again, this is, I think, supposed to have put Who's Who in that A Sparrow tier of character where they are not Yonko commanders exactly. Well, okay, Blue Ace is a Yonko commander, but I don't mean he's like, or he's the fifth strongest person in the crew and could be a Yonko commander if, the Yonko wanted it to. Like, if Big Mom wanted more sweet commanders, she could have had Peril Sparrow take another slot over someone like Snack, for example, or like how Whitebeard has, 16 commanders, but yet only a few of them actually would be able, really feel like they could match a Yonko commander. So you kind of get that vibe that Who's Who is supposed to be taken like this. But after Axe Drake escapes from him and who's like, oh no, Axe Drake escaping, he. I don't know why, but for some reason decides to go into his little area where he lives at in Onigashima with his crew that were not there when he was ambushing Axe Drake, and is then kind of just waiting for an opponent. I guess Luffy or Luffy to show up so he can get his vengeance because he was banished. Well, he was thrown from CP9 and imprisoned in Marijua because he failed the Delphi, which again I kind of feel like there's some other reasons why he got was imprisoned for his failures. And yeah, then Jinbe shows up, and then that's where I think that's where Who's Who kind of drops down in terms of everything. I mean, again, throughout the entire thing, we are being supposed to take Who's Who as a high, but when Jinbe goes up against him, it's like kind of feels like the only reason why Who's Who goes up against Jinbei is just to establish the gap between Jinbei and the Monster Trio kind of thing. You know how like Oda will introduce characters that are really powerful, like Robin, Frankie, who could both most likely be put on the Monster Trio level, but then throughout the arcs, throughout the sagas, they kind of get, alright, this is where Luffy, Sanji, Zoro are, this is where the rest of the Straw Hats are, kind of deal. So I kind of get the impression that's what Who's Who is being used for then, to not have Jinbei fight All-Star that he fights a Tobi Roppo. And yeah, they do have, and then we, for a little while, get a few clashes. Like, I think those two are also the ones when it comes to like quick cuts to see what their reactions to situations are, that's where I think we mostly have Jinbei and Who's Who until we get to the, checking off the villains being defeated list, where we get to surprisingly early on who gets taken down as soon as Page One Ulti get down. Well, next one on the list. So we have Who's Who versus Jinbei, and that fight, well, it's kind of difficult to call this a fight because during this fight, who's little clique kind of help him the most when it comes to fighting against Jinbei, which again kind of questions his power level since, I mean, the guy had advantage over the Jinbei and was not able to beat him. Well, Page One Ulti was kind of constantly chasing, but again, I went into that detail with Ulti and Page One. Let's not get into it here. But regardless, Who's Who goes against Jinbei after the Tama of the Arrowfruit thing that removes his clique. Which, fine enough, I think it's just like one headliner that removes all of Who's clique. To be fair, I do believe in the anime we've seen some of it. Who's clique. I think one of his fans, or the sexy cat ladies, the cat burglar girls, getting also eating Tama's dango, so maybe there was a bit more, but regardless, we have Who's Who versus Jinbei 1v1, and I mean, there is some choreography there, and there is some combat. Like, you can kind of tell they're, like, facing off each other. It's just that before the fight officially started, the focus officially started, we have some of these CPI just zero agents mentioning the fact that there was someone that should be taken care of amongst the things they do, and they mentioned that, considering the fact he's going up against Jinbei, we may not need to do anything about it. So we start the official battle portion for Who's Who versus Jinbei, already kind of with the impression that Who's Who may not is on the back foot against Jinbei, even though Jinbei's already damaged. Now, there's nothing wrong with this outside of the universe, but whenever you have a fight between certain characters, you should never go in, already being stated the character, that the villain is not gonna be able to win this or is very likely to be defeated. I mean, just saying. It's kind of like one of those. Oh, so this is just like us. Oh, I guess maybe the fight is gonna look cool or something. Or in Who's Who versus Jinbei case, it's there is gonna be a lore dump. Because, you see, Who's little thing, a little character quirk, is that he talks a lot. Like, I'm talking, he talks like a YouTuber for crying out loud. He talks, and just keeps babbling. I think his epithet is like the yapper or something. Like, he talks a lot, which kind of makes me think that the reason why he was also thrown in isn't in Murray is because he kind of like revealed a lot of things that he shouldn't have and that needed to be, taken care of as well. So yeah, Who's Who kind of got, I kind of get the impression that's also the reason why. So yeah, and doing his yapping while he's fighting Jinbei, he reveals not only his backstory and the reason why he hates Shawhead, because that is how like their confrontation started. The fact that Who's Who hates Jinbei because of Luffy, and therefore it's like, well, it's one of those indirect things. It's like it's similar to Carrot hating Power Sparrow for surviving, even though Pedro killed himself, kind of situation. It's one of those things, which is kind of funny how a lot of people like will bring up the how in-universe stupid it is for Who's Who to hate Jinbei and Luffy and all that, but it's not stupid that Carrot and the Minx hate Paro Sparrow for Pedro sacrificing himself by committing suicide. It's kind of a weird little thing, but I don't know. Maybe it's because Pedro is dead and no one in Who's alive. Maybe that's the problem or something. It goes how you want it. But regardless, Who's Who reveals all that, and he kind of wants to know more about. And the thing that what makes Who's Who talk to Jimmy, why he wants to go up against Jimmy, namely, is the fact that he wants to know more about Nika, this warrior liberation, all that, because because the people who told him that were mostly fishmen, and well, I think it was mostly fishmen. I think it was just that he learned about Nika and all that from the slaves that he was imprisoned with. So he kind of wanted to know more about it because Jinbei, but he says in more racist way, but basically the Sun Pirates thing is that you cannot tell which ones are slaves and which ones were free. That's the point of their symbol. That's the point of their backstory. So and all that. And one of the biggest things, well, one of the biggest story points in the fish amongst fishermen storyline is the whole, oppression, the slavery, and all that type of stuff. The Sabaody and all that. You get what I mean. Like, Who's Who kind of breaks the fourth wall when it comes to this stuff, but you know how it is when it comes to this, right? It comes to Modern World, and Jinbei doesn't like to be kind of the way how doesn't really appreciate how Who's Who is talking about that, and yeah, that's all the foreshadowing we kind of get for Nico. That's like all the necessary foreshadowing we get. So Jinbei is just like, don't talk about this, and he just uses arm and hockey and just knocks Who's Who knob it. In the anime, I think they make it a bit more dramatized about like I don't know. I think honestly, I find the way how the anime it extend that seem to be a bit ha ha. Yeah, I can. I do. I really wonder what this is supposed to mean. Or if you watch the what the famous who says, all I've got to have to say, unless if you support the real your views are the same in the real world politics as the way how who's who. If you connect the real world politics to what who's who is saying, it's one of those you really don't. It's clear where the writers were going for. I'm also kind of weird that how they kind of tried to go that down. I'm not a fan of how the road they were going with it. I'm not a fan of the way how they end up there. That's all I'm gonna say. If you know, you know. But short thing is, it's done stupid, which again makes me kind of question how I'm supposed to be angry at who's who. Since I mean, even the way how he says like everything, it's more like I mean he doesn't give a shit. So like he doesn't care about the actual gradual effect. It's kind of like I guess it sounds, but I'm not exactly hearing it. It's again like one of those I want to know more so kind of deal. Like I'm sorry, but well, he doesn't even say that. Like he just kind of wants to know, and yeah. So he gets knocked out, and by Jinbei gets defeated because he kind of was just serving as the Nika reveal. Which does make me kind of wonder what was the point of him, kind of being shown to be better if he's just gonna be, revealing some hints for the future of the story and then just immediately be taken down by Jinbei. I don't really know what was up with that, but that's what he ended up being. And that's kind of the last time we see Jinbei. Well, who's who. I mean, we got like one more panel where we see the who's who Black Maria Sasaki knocked out, but when they're all defeated together, but that's it. That's kind of the last time we see him. Doesn't even like doing major damage on Jinbei for crying out loud. But yeah, that's it. Now, what happened afterwards? It's anyone's guess. It's yeah, like we don't know. I kind of feel like he should be dead. Not because I think Jinbei killed him. I don't think Jinbei is that level of well, that level of character. But I do feel like he should be that more because that's what the CPI-0 agents were talking about, and I feel like that one agent that was, just kind of that top hat agent should have probably went to confirm if who was that because that's kind of the thing they were talking about. So you would think if you guys split, if you guys split your IG0 group, you should have one go deal with Robin and the other one could confirm that who is that if he's yaps too much. So I would think he would went there to confirm if who's that not, and if he's not that, kill him. So of all of them, I would not be surprised if who's who was killed by either Zero members or maybe he just burned to death. Like again, we don't know, but I would not be surprised if he's that. But I kind of doubt it. So this is One Piece, so maybe he's not, maybe he is. I feel like he should be, but probably not. Not Jim because of Jinbei's attack, but because it's kind of toyed around. So yeah, with the story, plus, while I can see Page One and Ulti having like entertaining personalities, I don't think who's personality or even his like you know so the conversations really convinced me that he would be a fun addition in a different group or something. Like I just get a vibe, but maybe he will, maybe not. Like it's like every single member of the antagonist. Well, no, it's not like every single member of the antagonist seems to come back into play later on, or at least have their own kind of side story, have exactly best characters. Look in Baroque's works, for example. But regardless, who's who? That's last time, and let's talk about a few other things. Let's go over his design now. Who's design is really cool. Like the Beast Boy generally have very cool designs, and who's no exception. Like he has a very nice like rat design, makes him really stand out. He has this like very kind of again similar to Page One and Ulti, who have this more like regular attire. He also has like a bit more of a professional suit on. Kind of probably supposed to be very referencing the CP9 members, so you could kind of like I mean, it's not obvious because again, he just wear like it's just a suit and it's mostly rat, so it's not directly. But I think it's supposed to be kind of a you could like if you change the colors for for Husu's design a bit, you could probably see him as a CP9 member or I just zero member. I mean, he even has the mask going out. And he also has like a bit of an eye tattoo, which I don't think there's any relevance there. It's just something that a lot of characters have, and the characters who had this like weird communication thing, which from what we know, who doesn't have any, unless if he has like a device in his armor that allows him to hear what's going on better than others, like those like Dendemushes kind of deals. But he has it on in his helmet. Maybe that's why. But I don't know. I don't think it's ever stated. Also, something about his designs that he might have also been shown earlier in the story as a silhouette, but got a drastic redesign. Because during Punk Hazard, we do have like someone with like either a cloak. I think it was a very clear cloak, like that kind of furry coat with long horns. So maybe that was originally supposed to be his design, but then Oda changed it into this more. I mean, it doesn't really matter. I mean, it's just a generic. I mean, it does not matter. I would not be surprised that was supposed to be, but who knows? Again, who's a weird character where he drops a lot of very important lore, but and he's kind of built up, but he kind of just falls off the wave side. Now, CP, who's combat, he has the saber-tooth tiger Zoan. That's right, saber-tooth tiger, right? I think that's at least what the thing is. Where he has hybrid and his normal form. We see him originally his normal form, but he's again is more proficient with hybrid form, which resembles Bluchi, which again makes sense because you have like this is kind of like Jinbei's pro Annie's lobby fight when you kind of break it down. So yeah, and he also has all the Rikushiki techniques. I don't think he has that Ryokyu Ugan technique that Rob Lucci had, but he has the rest. And he also has like this like little dagger that he for some reason has shifted in the large katana in his large katana. Like it's kind of comical. Like he has like this like carries around this like giant katana. Doesn't even have it like tied to his side or like how most captains have it. He just has like he just carries it around in his hand. But then he actually uses it as just like a tiny little dagger for like stabbing purposes. Which is kind of, I mean, I get it, but it's kind of funny how he has it for that. Which, now that I think about it, Husu probably should have been Brook's opponent, since I would probably wager he would actually make more sense, the way how he fights, and, Brook also didn't have a fight against a CP Cyberpol agent during his law because he was not a member then, and even in the way how Husu uses his little dagger is similar to how Brook uses it, so I kind of feel like they should have fought instead of Jinbei, probably a more high-def fight than it really was against Jinbei, but what can you do? I suppose it was probably also to like not have too many of the Destroyers like on their own beat the Cyberpool agents or something. Or maybe it would not have mattered. Or maybe the Nico reveal would not have mattered that much if it was Brook. I don't know, really. It's like it's probably one of those things. I feel like if who's who fought up against Brook, it might have been a bit more of a fight. But regardless, it wasn't, and who's who yeah, Uzu just kind of he is again like he has a more of a fight, but it's not really that noteworthy. It's not really like a big thing. It was more the lore about Nika that was really his purpose. And yeah, that's it for who's playing style. And yeah, I mean, I kind of want to say he's like one of my least favorite members of the Beast Pirates because again he's like there's just nothing. I mean, he looks cool, but that's kind of it. Like the lore is nice, but that's kind of it. Like unless if you're some really big, like unless if you're someone who ranks characters based off of lore they reveal, you're not gonna give a big like. I don't think he's gonna matter that bit much. And yeah, that's kind of it for who's who. Well, no, I would probably put him like a 5 out of 10 at most because again, he's just like he's cool, but nothing is special. And for his future, I could see him be dead because, again, that's what they was kind of toying around. But if he's alive, I wouldn't be surprised. And yeah, that's kind of it for who's character. analysis, discussion. So, anyways, I hope you like this video. I hope you leave your thoughts and who in the comments below. And yeah, also if you have a recommendation for which villain after the Beast Pirate series I should be talking about in the future, leave it in the comments below. And that's it. I cannot wait to see all of your motos next time. Goodbye.